Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. Well, we're covering both legislatures, although Oregon wrapped up last week, except that Oregon's actions are now in court. In Washington state, an anti-tax protest at the Washington legislature ended with activist Tim Eyman being escorted right out of the hearing room. I wanted to find out exactly what happened, so Tim Eyman joins me now, political conservative activist. Tim, welcome back to the program.
Hey, I appreciate it very, very much.
So we've got this millionaire tax, which I don't think is going to stay a millionaire tax very, very long. It originally was proposed as a billionaire tax until the Democrats in Olympia figured out we aren't going to get enough money if we just go after billionaires and they can skate out from under the tax, which they probably will and should. And the millionaires probably will as well, which is when I think they're going to shift it down and say, well, now it applies to everybody. But what was going on before the Senate Ways and Means Committee that caused you to be escorted out of the room?
Well, I had testified on the bill and highlighted all the flaws in it and got gavelled down because I was saying things that were critical of the bill. But then when they had what they called executive session, when they're voting on it, the public isn't allowed to speak. But after they took their vote, before they moved on to the next bill, I just stood up and said, I just dissent to what you're doing. I disagree with what you're doing. And she started gaveling and you need to stop talking. You need to stop talking. She calls over security to escort me out. And I just said, silencing dissent. That's what you're doing right now, is doing that. So it was people talking in a public building became quite a kerfuffle.
Well, and Tim, one of the patterns I want people to see is that you have largely Democrat control in Washington state. You have total Democrat control in the state of Oregon. And in both states, they're talking about ways to shut down public dissent and to shut down public voices. I think that is a characteristic of liberals and Democrats. And I don't think, there may be times that Republicans have tried to silence dissent, but I think the Democrats do this as just their regular course of business. Am I wrong?
Well, not at all. I've been doing this for 29 years, and, it used to be you'd get 3 minutes to be able to talk. Now they're pigeonholing you in where you get like 30 seconds or a minute. Now I want to understand the kind of freak of nature that would drive for 3 hours, sit in the middle of a meeting for 3 hours, listening to these guys talk, stand there, talk for 30 seconds, and then drive 3 hours home. You got to be just a complete freak of nature to do it. But, I'm a political activist. I do it. But I can't imagine a regular person on a work day taking out their entire day so they can get 30 seconds or 60 seconds. And the Democrats know that, and that's why they cut it off so short.
Well, one of the things that strikes me is that I don't think has had nearly enough commentary, and that's this. You right now in the state of Washington have a tremendous advantage, no income tax at all. Mm-hmm. And they're going to take the state from being one of the best states to bring and start a business, and they're going to make it one of the worst. I think it's number 8 on the list nationally among the worst states in terms of taxes, and especially for innovative companies. Because imagine this, under the millionaire's tax, say you have a high-tech startup. It could be biological high-tech, could be silicon high-tech. Good. And you go out and the first year you generate $5 million in revenue. Now, you don't actually make any money because your expenses were $6 million, but you generate $5 million. They're not charging you based on how much you made. They're charging you based on the total amount of dollars that flowed through your company. Am I understanding this right?
No, you're exactly right. And what was actually really kind of admirable is, the Republicans just don't have the numbers. They're going to get outvoted. But what was really admirable is it started 5:30 last night. I got there. They had the floor debate on the House. They introduced 82 amendments. They took 30 minutes on every one of them. So from 5:30 to 8:30 this morning, for 15 hours for me anyway, I sat there and watched the whole thing. And it was truly inspiring. It was like the movie 300, where you have these people hopelessly outnumbered, but they were fighting to the death to make sure that maybe in this poker game I got a pair of deuces, but I'm going to play them as hard and as strong as I possibly can. It was actually quite inspiring.
Well, let me ask you about this too, because the other thing I don't think has had nearly enough public commentary on is the marriage penalty that the Democrats have built into
Oh,
this.
yes.
Because I want to imagine this, Tim. Do you think I'm crazy if I say in Seattle there are probably executives who work for Amazon, they work for Microsoft, they work for Boeing, they work for other companies, and they have a spouse. It might be a male spouse or a female spouse who also makes very good money. If the two of them are not married and they each make, let's say, $750,000 a year, big fat paycheck, individually, they're not going to be touched by this tax at all. They are 100% exempt. But if they are married, the penalty for that two earner couple, 750 each, is going to be close to $50,000 that they're going to punish you for being married. And I can't
For
believe
being married.
I realize the total number of people, millionaires, who are going to be hit by this, I think is in the thousands, or is it in the tens of thousands? It's a
Yeah, it's
relatively
like
small number.
3,000, 3,500, something like that. But the Republicans, to their credit, said today it's a millionaire's tax. Tomorrow it's everyone's tax.
Right,
And,
but
and
but in the
everyone knows they're
even
going to
if
ratchet it down.
Tim, even if it stayed a millionaire's tax, how equitable is it to say, hey,
Oh,
and if you're just
absolutely.
living together and you're not married, then you don't have to pay the tax at all. But if you're married, then we're going to hit you for 30, 40, 50,000, $100,000, depending on what the math is, based on the fact that you're married. To build in a gigantic marriage penalty seems especially evil.
Absolutely. And the Republicans are really pounding away on that. It's just like marriage, foundation of our society, of our civilization, and you're penalizing people for doing that. You're going to cause paper divorces in order to be able to save $40, $50, $60,000. I mean, honestly, they're just making it where when they highlighted how many states, don't have these marriage penalties, like all of them. But I think the biggest point that was made all the time, over and over again, which I really, really was impressed with, is stop calling it a millionaire's tax. It's a tax on everybody eventually. Don't give us this crap that it's just going to be only on those guys behind the tree. You guys are going to ratchet it down every time we introduce an amendment that says, let's lock it in and make it where it will stay with millionaires. They say, well, we don't want to bind future legislators. We want to give them the flexibility to do whatever they want. And it's like, you talk about a red flag. That's the ultimate red flag. We all know it's going to spread to everybody.
Hey, Tim, where can my audience find your website?
Oh, I appreciate it. It's just timdefense.com, timdefense.com. You can see me get gavelled. You can see me get escorted out the whole bit. I mean,
TimDefense.com. That is Tim Eyman, political conservative activist. Back in a moment, and a new poll about AI and the risks outweigh the benefits.